We all love coffee. I genuinely can't start my day with at least one cup. But let's be honest, when you're on the road or deep in the bush, making a good coffee is usually a hassle or near impossible, especially if you're just by yourself. If you don't have a good 12-volt system with an inverter and a coffee machine, you have to light a fire, set up a stove, wait for the water to boil just to make a coffee. And then you end up spending more time cleaning up and packing up than you do drinking the coffee. And especially in the middle of summer like this week when it's 40 degrees Celsius, drinking a boiling hot coffee is the last thing you want to do, assuming there is no fire ban to begin with. However, for the last 12 months, I've been enjoying something a lot more convenient and a lot more affordable, and I found a way to make the best hot weather coffee I have ever tasted with zero electricity, zero heat, and almost zero cleanup. Therefore, today on Bush Business, we're going to be ditching the coffee makers and sharing some amazing coffee cheat codes. I'm Ayman and welcome back. In this video, we're going to be talking about fuel, but not fuel for the car, fuel for people, caffeine. Now, I'm usually an early riser when it comes to travel, and this is generally after staying up very late either working or chatting to friends at the campsite. So saying I need caffeine to wake up in the morning is a huge understatement. And this becomes very challenging when I have to leave very early for trips in the morning, as the biggest problem I normally have is noise, or when I'm on the road on a tight schedule, I don't have the time to set up my fire and make a coffee. I can't fire up the coffee machine without waking the whole family up, or I'll end up rushing on the road and skipping my morning coffee. And then as I'm on the highway, I'll regret skipping my coffee and start counting down the kilometers to the nearest service center, which is sometimes hours and hours away. This made me stop the traditional espresso machine and eventually led me to the Moka Pot, which I absolutely love and use daily. It's easy, but it does have its limitations. It solves the noise issue, but you still have to actually make the coffee, and it still requires a heat source, whether it's fire, stove, or a cooker. And then after you make your little tiny cup in this thing, you have to cool it down, clean up the whole thing, and pack it away, only to repeat the process later on when you need a coffee again. And then of course, it makes super hot coffee, which is fantastic in winter, but when it is a stinking hot summer day, it's probably the last thing you want to drink. Which leads us to today's camping hack. This right here is the lazy method and might end up being your favorite way of making coffee on the road, especially in summer. However, before we do get into how it works, do me a favor and hit the subscribe and like buttons if you haven't already done so. It costs you absolutely nothing, but helps support this channel and motivates me to keep making content like this for you in the future. Also, let me know in the comments below how you like to have your coffee on a daily basis. And at the end of the video, let me know if you're going to try this coffee hack at home once you've seen it work. Let's get into it. This right here is how we will be making our coffee, and it's actually all you need to make an amazing cold brew coffee. This to me is the simplest and easiest way of making a coffee. I started using it over a year ago and I haven't looked back. And the main reason, it is very efficient. When you're traveling, you don't want to be stopping every few hours to unpack a kitchen and then repack it after you make your coffee. And when you're at camp, you want to enjoy the camp and not make coffees, or you probably need to just set up camp or pack up camp. With this method, there is no electricity required, no heat source required, and best of all, you can make as much coffee as you like in a single batch, whether it's for a group, for yourself, or a massive pot like this for you to drink all day. And I call this the lazy way because the coffee literally brews itself while you sleep or drive, so you don't really have to do anything. Let me show you how simple it is to make coffee this way. You only need to do 3 things. First of all, get yourself a big jar or a cold brew jar like this one. I picked it up from Amazon. It has a super fine mesh inside it and it's quite large in size, so I can make a couple of days worth of coffee at a time for me or anyone else who's joining me. And a top tip for you is that the filter is the most important part. You can use any jar you like, but the filter has to be fine so you don't end up getting grit inside of your finished coffee, which makes the drinking experience a little bit unpleasant. If you want some ideas on what coffee jars you can buy from Amazon, I'll be leaving some links in the description of this video anyway, so don't get too hung up on what coffee jar you need, but just remember it's all about the filter. Step 2 is the coffee itself, and it doesn't matter what coffee beans you use, you can pick whatever one you like, but you have to use coarse ground coffee. It doesn't matter if you buy it already ground or grind it yourself, but make sure not to use a fine grit or it's going to get muddy and go through the filter, which is not going to be very pleasant when you drink. Now all you need to do is put the coffee in the mesh filter. Step 3, and it sounds very silly, but make sure that the mesh filter with the coffee is inside of the coffee jar and fill it up with cold water, screw the lid on, and that's it. You are completely done. All you have to do now is throw it into your fridge or esky and let it do its thing. Let it sit overnight, or if you're hitting the road, just let it sit there while you drive. By the time you wake up or get to your destination, if it is a long trip, the coffee is already brewed and you're ready to drink it. All you have to do is pull the filter out, dump the coffee grounds, and you're ready for your coffee. And if you want, you can add some milk or sugar so you can have a nice iced coffee, and I reckon it will make some amazing cocktails at night too if you want to get creative with your drinks. It is really as easy as that. Minimum effort for maximum results. Now, aside from the convenience, there's actually the taste. If you are someone who drinks black coffee or iced coffee, this is going to be a game changer because it does taste much better than your normal brewed coffee. Because you don't use any heat, you haven't burned the beans. It is significantly less acidic and much less bitter, but it is very, very concentrated, so you certainly get your caffeine hit. And because you can taste the coffee much better, you can get creative and start experimenting with different beans and roasts, which is fantastic if you're traveling around Australia, given how many roasters of coffee we have. The coffee is very smooth to the taste, and on a hot summer day, it is very refreshing. And finally, the best thing is that it's much cheaper than buying a coffee. It tastes better, it takes zero effort, and it's probably even healthier than your servo coffee. And again, if you do want to grab one of these jars, I have listed a few options in the description of this video for you to check out later on. Let me know in the comments if you are a hot coffee traditionalist, or if you're willing to try the new cold brew method. And if you have tried it before, what do you think of it? Finally, if you have enjoyed this video, be sure to check out the next one right here for more camping and travel tips. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.